This is Coop's dad, and this is personal to me. So here we are, episode number 12 of the Coop's Advice podcast.
12?
12.
That's crazy.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And we're here today with
Jordan Huxhold.
Jordan Huxhold. You know, you have been very highly requested.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And we, on the Coop's Advice Discord, we have a couple channels on the side about, like, you know, ask Coop's mom's questions, Coop's favorite colors or music or tributes, a lot of things for the members to participate on. And one of them is, who would you like to see on the Coop's Advice podcast? Mm-hmm. And you're very highly requested.
That's really good to hear.
Yeah, so people have watched you, seen you, know you, and so I think it's going to be a surprise. And we'll be doing some behind the scenes and some coming soons and notices to the Discord first before anywhere else.
Gotcha, cool.
So just as a tribute to those kids, those over 200,000 kids around the world, still there, still participating, and still helping each other, which is amazing.
That's crazy. I remember when Cooper started the Coop's Advice. Like, I remember the day he said he was making it, and it's crazy to think that 200,000. I feel like I've never even really seen that with Discord. Like, having that many members in a Discord server is crazy. Like, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, the average, Jordan, is usually, less than 10,000, but there are some really big channels like Taylor Swift and a lot of the recording artists that are huge. But for someone, and some of the well-known gamers, because that's how it started with gaming. And so there's some big channels out there, and there's some channels that are making a lot of money out there. But Coop's thing took off, and I was fearful that it was going to be, it was going to dissipate, and it hasn't. And we now, we engage a group to help us manage it and to develop content for it. Parker and Alana have stepped in to oversee it now. Like, Parker's doing a Q&A tonight at 6 p.m.
Cool.
A live one.
On the Discord?
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so
cool.
We've done some things. So it's done well, but, those fans want to hear from you and see you. So
hey, that's like,
we got you here.
Like, yeah, that's cool. That's cool to hear. It's surprising.
I'm so thankful that you want to join us. So
this is what I've been wanting to do. So
we met a long time ago, and I don't know that much about your beginnings and origination. Maybe take us through, Jordan, where he came from and how he got here. Because I think you were one of those guys that got started in social media just before COVID.
Yeah.
And, like for everybody else. But tell us a little bit about Jordan's story.
Yeah, so I grew up in Florida. Like, I was born in Florida, lived there for like 10 years, and then after that I moved to Arizona. So I had to pick up everything, move for my dad's job, and then after 3 years in Arizona, we moved to Kansas again for my dad's job, and then after that went to Alabama. And then I spent I went through high school and a year of college in Alabama, and then kind of just was in that first year of college, I was going to like a community college. I was definitely pretty lonely.
Was it from the constant moving around?
No, I just feel like I don't know. I feel like I always had like an internal just loneliness. I liked spending a lot of time alone. I always had good friends, and then sometimes I really didn't have many friends at times. And
was it hard to connect or feel in common with other kids?
I think yeah, I definitely have a few really good friends from Alabama, but yeah, I feel like it was hard to connect on, I think, the levels I wanted to connect on and the things I was interested in. Like, I'm really interested in, obviously, movies, acting, modeling, fashion, just really just that kind of thing, which I think is definitely more popular nowadays than I think it was when I was going through high school. And then I think it just really I think it really just depended on where you were at, you know? And I feel like I just kind of ended up being a little bit more lonelier than I probably should have been. And I ended up getting on social media and really just, I didn't really know, kind of what would happen from it. I kind of just like started it because my sister was like, "Oh, you should, hop on TikTok and
check it out
and whatever." And then I remember I posted a video, and I think I gained 100 followers, and I was like, "That's crazy." I remember thinking that like, "Wow, 100 people just thought I was like cool or something." And I was like,
"This is about when?"
This is in 2019.
So you're about what, 20?
I was 18.
18, okay.
18, yeah, about to turn 19.
Yeah.
And I turned, and then that was when I started. I was 18 when I started doing like social media. And I definitely.
How did your friends react to that?
Not well.
They didn't like it, did they?
No, they didn't like it.
That's the same thing that happened with Coop. It got started, people made fun of him, like, who are you trying to be? What are you trying to impress? Like, what's this? If you weren't in the box, you were kind of like picked on.
It's interesting. I just saw a clip from, I forget who it was, but they were talking about success in the beginning of succeeding in something. They said if it's not cringy in the beginning, then you're doing something wrong.
Right.
And I hate hearing that, and I hate knowing that. But when I think about it, everything that I feel like I've kind of got good at or became successful with, it was definitely perceived as cringier from the people around me or the peers until they really start to see the vision and kind of what it what it brings.
I think it might be a component of your pushing the envelope. Mm-hmm. And so for most people, they're comfortable inside their space. Mm-hmm. So when you push outside of that, there's a lot of like negativity to it, like because it's uncomfortable, and B, it's like, I wish I could do that. Mm-hmm. Because there's some success, they see some success with it.
Yeah, I feel jealousy. I feel like it just takes like it's one of those things where you just have to get out of your comfort zone, I think, and one of those things, I mean, I definitely posted some cringy stuff for sure.
Really?
When I started. Yeah, probably.
Is it still out there on your feed?
Nah,
you got rid of it.
I got rid of it. Yeah, because you just never know. But yeah, I definitely got rid of the cringy stuff. But it was where I had to start, Yeah. But I remember getting 100 followers, and I remember thinking, whoa, like that's 100 people. And then I remember making a video thanking everyone for 100 followers. Yeah. And then the next day it was 200 followers. Wow. And then I said, and I think I posted a video around 300 followers, and I said, I'm going to post a video every 100 followers. And then it just started going up
people
like quicker.
People jumped in on it, right?
Yeah. And I think it was a lot easier then to grow and get a niche during that period. Yeah. So it was one of those times where it was very like, it was right place, right time, starting it when it was like not cool and not really realizing how big I think TikTok and the social media scene would really become. Like I always knew it was a big thing, like with YouTube and all that. I've been on YouTube and the internet since like 2010. And I didn't realize it would be as sought after or kind of as accessible as it is now for everyone. So I feel like it's a very good, all these platforms nowadays I feel like anyone can hop on them and kind of be authentic and showcase themselves and get some recognition for it.
Exactly. I look at it because I wasn't ever a social media person, but because Coop was involved with it and you guys that we all met, and then being involved with the things that he left us to do when he passed, the platform was there to, what we did was took his message and wanted to be able to continue to share his message. So it showed us that, it's content, what people are interested in, whether it's music or art or humor, comedy, film, or a message. And the message about mental health and how important it is, and the various avenues it takes people down, gosh, just resonates with so many millennials, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha. And like that's why the Discord blew up. I think that's why Cooper blew up. I think that's why Coop's advice has blown up, and why we still get a lot of demand for content and like this, to hear from other peers what their life is like, what life is like for them, and what they struggle with and their successes. Because I think everybody wants to identify and see that their idols or the people they look up to are real and human and struggle like they do. And that message is powerful, because we get messages all the time. People saying thank you for putting this out, or, Coop saved me, or, these videos, kept me from, making different choices, So here we are, continuing to do this because I think it's important.
I think it's very important. And I think it's like, as somebody who struggled with mental health for a long period of time, I find seeing like people I look up to, I always like seeing more raw, uncut videos of them or interviews where you're like really getting to see that, these people that I look up to, they struggle too. They're
real.
They're human. They're
real.
not like, and it really makes you kind of not, like, I think one thing is it kind of helps you not have them so up here. It kind of brings them more down to like your level, and it kind of makes you feel important too, where you're like, I'm also like, they're like me.
They're relatable.
They're like me. And I think that's an amazing thing to hear from, especially like people you look up to, is just hearing that they also struggle. They've overcome things. They get through things. I think the big thing is being able to, I guess, show to people that you'll get through whatever you're going through.
I think what's important also is that, and you're someone that's like this, that you're willing to be open and be vulnerable and talk about what you struggle with, where a lot of people don't. They're very guarded. You can see them getting uncomfortable getting there when we talk about it, and they don't want to talk about it. They either deflect or hold back. And I know I can see the struggle, but my hope is that if some of these people would open up and try, I think that's the first step to actually getting through to a healthier place.
Yeah, it's accepting and like being able to kind of just accept where you are and what you're dealing with and growing from it. It's a growth process. Like, I remember I went through a time where I didn't want to talk about anything. It's embarrassing almost when you're like dealing with, when you're dealing with very, heavy depression, anxiety, your thoughts are negative, your feelings are negative, you're not in a good place. It's embarrassing to talk to that. I didn't realize it until I went through it, where I was like, I don't really want anyone to know I'm struggling. Like
well, it's a stigma, and people look at you negatively and like, what's wrong with you? Like, what's wrong with you, dude? Like, snap out of it, or like, you got this. But it's not that easy. I mean, it's like, you're not asking me questions about like, why do I feel this way and how bad does this feel? And then when you start talking to somebody, you go, wow, this person's really struggling. It's not just like snap out of it. You really need to talk about it, and with someone that you can be safe with, and that will, respect that and genuinely want to listen and care about that. Those are the steps that get you to, to a healthier, next step. But it's so hard, especially as males. My generation is conditioned not to do this at all. I still have not found. I found maybe one or two dads that have gone through what I've gone through that have been willing to talk once. The rest of the time, it's not there.
I feel like it is your generation, and I feel like from your generation, and then I would say probably at about mine. And then I think about mine, it cuts off to where it's like, I think around my generation, it started to become a little bit more acceptable as a male to be comfortable expressing your feelings.
I think it's a lot more with your generation.
It's a lot more.
I really look
yeah.
up to all you guys because you do share your feelings and you're not judgmental.
Mm-hmm.
Not nearly as judgmental. You're more empathetic,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really welcomed. And our world needs more of that, particularly like my world.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that way. It's it's just really cut off from everybody else. Nobody wants to talk about it. I think it's based around a lot of fear
Mm-hmm.
in my world because it's more parents,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that there's a lot of parents that are very fearful of what may be going on under their roof,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't want to talk about it. You know, they just want to be like a certain degree of denial, and it's also probably a certain degree of pain
Mm-hmm.
that they don't want to have to face and keep like kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, and yeah, I understand that. I mean, I feel like I've known a good amount of older people and friends who are older who they
I guess I'm in that category.
like I would say from people from your generation, I feel like most of them, they have more of a like armor on. They're guarded. They don't want to talk about it. Even people in my own like, some family members I have and stuff like that, men, like they don't want to talk about it. And I've been lucky that I've had parents and like grandparents who they've allowed me to really be me and like not shut that down. And I think that has a huge like part of being able to be open is just kind of, I would say I was told it was okay, kind of by my parents, growing up, just being able to be more, express my feelings, express my emotions. When it came around to me feeling like I had to, I don't know. I don't think it was ever really talked about, but I've always had a good relationship with my parents to where I've like been able to express things. But I can't say the same about like my parents. I feel like maybe they didn't have that. They've had to learn just from life to be able to be open and get through things. You feel better when you talk, you feel better when you talk about stuff. Like
when Cooper was growing up, our world was more in that box. Like, you got to go to school, you got to go to college, so you can get maybe an opportunity for a good job. And what we found is the more that we accepted him being who he was and how out of the box he was on a lot of different things, on how he dressed, how he wanted to wear his hair, what he wanted to do, what was important to him and what was not, he was happier. Mm-hmm. So we looked at it and said, okay, well, he's not as happy in this box. He's happier outside. What's wrong with that? And I think we were fortunate to be able to see that and allow him to do that. And at times it shocked him that we said, like particularly, he met with us with his therapist once, and he didn't want to go to college any longer. And he was like freaking out that this session was going to be about, you need to talk to your parents that you don't want to go. You want to drop out. You're doing other things. And I could tell when we walked in, like, something's going on here. Like, we're going to get some bad news about something. I don't know what it was, but I remember looking over at Treva and we're like, just, let's listen. So it comes out and it was like, the therapist goes, so, Harold, what do you think about that? And I go, I think it's great. I think he's doing a good job taking care of himself and supporting himself, and he's doing a lot of good things. I'm good with it. I go, honey. She looks at me. She goes, yeah, we're good. He like freaked, like what?
I could imagine him.
And then I found out
him getting excited about that.
And then I found out from Sav later on, he was paying somebody to do his work for him, right? So he wasn't going anyway. So he always figured out a way how to get out of it.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
That's
he paid some kid to do all his homework, all his tests. He's living with Sav. She doesn't even know he's going to college.
I didn't know he was going to college
Exactly.
when he was living with
He was
Steph.
in-
That's
he
crazy.
was in Santa Monica City.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
great.
So he was like so concerned that he was gonna like and want to hurt.
Are you talking about
dismiss.
that apartment him and Sab lived in?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I didn't know he was in college. That's so funny.
We were seeing the reports and all the stuff. Yeah, he was doing well. I guess his proxy was doing well.
That's classic. That is classic Coop. That is hilarious. I did not know he was in college.
Yeah.
I did not know that. That's crazy.
So we met. I think we met at our house. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was trying to think about that on the way up.
Or I think I met you. No, I think I met you at Cooper's apartment when you guys were coming to pick up his stuff.
So I don't know. I mean, what I remember, Jordan, was where we met and where I felt that I really connected with you. We were talking outside in our home in the garden, and you were sitting down in like that sofa area or the chair area, and we just started talking about Jordan and like what you were doing. And I think you were struggling at the time. Struggling from the standpoint of, I don't know if I remember correctly, about what you were doing. Was it working? Were you making enough money? Is this life going to work out for you? I think we started talking about that. And I remember you being very candid with me and very open. And I thought, this kid here is like being very real. And he's being very open about what he's struggling with. And you were also willing to listen to some things that I was sharing with you about what I went through in my life about, how I kind of viewed pursuing success and, being disciplined and being committed and, willing to, go for it. And I don't know, that's kind of how remember how we met.
I do remember that day, and I remember us talking, and I remember going home feeling like, oh, that was a really good conversation. I remember feeling seen. I remember feeling seen and heard by you. And I remember like kind of thinking about that. And I was like, oh, that felt nice. And I remember thinking it just felt good. I felt good.
Was that when, was that Cooper's paddle out? Were you at
I think
the paddle
so.
out?
Yeah, I was at the paddle out.
Yeah. That day still is kind of a blur to me, other than what I see on some of the videos. It was just, it was in the fog of,
I feel like
destruction.
that time was kind of a blur. Like thinking back to it now, I'm like, it was a time where I was trying to be present, with everything that was going on, but it was very difficult to be, and I can only imagine how it was for you and Shriva and Parker. Like, yeah, I mean, I can imagine it would be a blur,
Yeah, it's a lot of things I don't remember, but I remember talking with you, and I had a real interest in you because I didn't really. There was a lot of people there that day that came to, as a tribute to Cooper, that I didn't know. I knew the core group basically. I didn't know you. I didn't know Brett. I didn't really know Alex. Didn't know Alana. Didn't really know Shannon that well. I basically knew Jaden, Sab. I kind of knew Nessa, but I didn't. Triva knew more with Nessa because she was driving Cooper back up in LA before he lived there. But a lot of people came down. Landon, Barker. I didn't really know Quentin. I know Quentin and Cooper and Jane were really tight, but Quentin also isn't the most talkative, So I didn't know Emma, didn't know Zach, didn't know Anna. So there's a lot of these people that were in Cooper's life that I never really knew, but as I got to know them, everybody's so special. I mean, they're really unique and beautiful kids. I think all you guys are individually gifted, more so than I've seen on other people that I've known through Cooper's life. And I see why he came up to LA, why he became so close to everybody. You guys are all the same.
We're all the same. We are all I think we all struggled in certain ways, and I think we all ended up having the same, I think unknowingly, we probably were all going through the same things when we all started doing what we do now. And I think that, like, I haven't really thought about that till right now, but I feel like that's probably why we were all connected, why we were all friends, why Cooper was friends with me and Sab and Nessa and Jaden and, you know, Emma and Zach and Anna and like that whole group of people. Like everyone was just so connected. I've known all those people for I think a couple of years now, but I was not really close with many of them. I feel like we all had individual friendships in like individual groups.
You were like hanging out with like Vinny.
Yeah.
Who else were you living with, hanging out with? You had Baby J.
Baby J, Anthony.
Yeah, Baby J was there. I met him that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that dude.
He's a good kid.
He's
turned it around.
He has.
He's a little bit of a badass.
He is a badass.
He's gotten really fit.
He's always been a badass.
But I mean, he got in the boxing thing. I watched
Yeah.
his TikTok videos. And I'm really proud of him because he was struggling when we chatted at our house, you know, with this whole deal. And I was surprised he moved. And then, but he's, you know, I think he's doing well. He had a different, I think, youth than I think most. He moved around a lot. He was really young when he started doing everything. And I mean, young, like 16, like so young. Yeah. I was in high school, you know, just going, with my normal life. And he was out here just hustling, you know, and very young with no supervision. Yeah. No supervision. Tough environment to be let loose in without any kind of guidance. Mm-hmm. I think he had a lot of really good friends though around him. Yeah. Like you. Yeah. You're like his big brother. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'd say so. Yeah. Yeah. He I just love that dude. And I know he loved Cooper, and I know Cooper loved Baby J. Yeah. You can't really not love both of those guys. They were both so cool and fun and exciting. They were both so cool and exciting to be around. Damn, and now it makes me remember because Baby J and I were talking in our courtyard. I think he came down a second time. It might have been Cooper's birthday, but it was all about, dude, how do you get the name Baby J? I'm like, what's your real name? And it's like, he doesn't disclose it. But somebody told me what it was. And I can't remember now what it was, but like, that's the whole secret. He hides his name. Oh, I know it, but I'm not going to say it. Yeah, you couldn't do that. He'd be so mad, yeah. Well, that's so unique about him. Yeah. One of the things that I've noticed in talking more about with guys, you know, like with you and doing pods with like Emma, et cetera, is that there's some common denominators with all of you, which I think was why this group has been so special. One of it is, you know, first of all, you all started social media about the same time, around 2019, and then you all went into COVID, then there was a lockdown, and then your particular group focused on social media because you were in a lockdown. And that happened with Coop, happened with you, happened with Emma, happened with everybody else. And then there was the opportunity for the individuals to find, well, what are the other things that you're interested in that you want to pursue? And so, Jane went into music, like Nessa. Emma, Anna went into like what you're doing, modeling, branding, et cetera. And use the platform to express yourself, but also to expose yourself. And with the good pluses that come with it, because I know there's been, with a lot of the group, there's been some, there's a lot of shit talked out there. And there's some of the sites that are like, get clicks from creating drama and spreading bad shit and rumors and, we probably don't know who we see out there, and it's still going on. It's like, dude, just leave it alone. Like, it's just part of it. I guess so. That's what I've learned with it is it's just part of it. Like, you have to really, you kind of have to have, I think, thick skin to get through it, like it, especially in I think I've had some times where I've gotten some hate and stuff for just like things where I'm like, what did I do? Yeah. Like I'll get like some. They needed something that day. Yeah. I got my only experience with it was I manage Coop's actual personal Instagram and TikTok. When I say manage, I post some things on it from the foundation that are announcements so that who's ever following it will get it. Like there's a new merch drop or something of that sort. But on my own social media, we get so many tributes from people all around the world. They do edits or artwork or whatever, right? So we repost them as much as we can. As if you're going to create them, we're going to repost it. So Coop's mom and I do the same thing. So I posted something, or I looked on Cooper's Instagram account, and I forgot to switch it back to mine. So I reposted something, and I didn't realize I reposted it on his.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, Coop's dad is trying to become a social media guy and get followers by using his son's account. I'm like, oh God, you got it.
People always have something to say.
I'm like getting all these messages from like Parker and Treva and like, what did you do? I'm like, so I go back and post on and say, hey, I'm really sorry, everybody. I removed the post, really sorry, but this is what happened, and I forgot to switch over. My apologies if I hurt anybody's feelings, but thank you for understanding. And then everybody jumped on that, T site. And like, what are you doing to his dad? He's grieving, and he was just trying. They just like beat that whole thing up.
Yeah,
and I was
because
like, okay,
it's
thanks.
just.
I took the high road, and everybody supported it. And I said, hey, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to hurt anybody, and it was cool. But like, wow, just think if you're like, I don't know, struggling
I think
with
you're
something,
bringing awareness to like if there is a platform, use it. And I think you've been using your platform in such a positive way. I think way better than I think I use mine. Like honestly, and way better than most of us use our platforms. I think you have done an amazing job. Same thing with Treva, same thing with Parker, same thing with like you guys have done. I always look at it and I'm like, dang, you guys are doing really good and consistently good.
Well, we feel that Cooper left this for us to do, and truly we feel led by him. When I watched your pod on the way up that you did with Brett and Toddy, you started off talking a story about like the ghost thing, haunted houses you lived in. We have had experiences where we feel like Cooper is like here, he's like leading you, saying, hey, this is what you need to do. And we go with it, and the doors just open up to greater and greater things. We sit there and go, holy shit, this is unreal. I can't even believe we're doing these things, or involved, or people are offering to do things in his name, in his behalf, that are like, even that cost like a lot of money. And it's like, they're willing to give that. And it's like, okay, we're good. Thanks God, thanks Coop. What else do you need us to do? But you guys, in your group, when I say you guys, the group that was around Coop, his close friends, your platforms, in my opinion, are meant for you to help you grow for your careers.
Yeah.
And when you're vulnerable about the things you struggle, you are inadvertently helping somebody else to feel that it's okay to be able to bring this up, because we've been taught in a society that it's not okay. And then we've further been taught that when something doesn't feel right, let me prescribe you something. And today, it's a very dangerous environment. It's deadly, and we have to have different choices. And if the more we can open up, I think, like you said earlier, those are the steps to healing. And Jordan, I'll share this. I think it's okay to say this. With all the people that were associated with Cooper that I know that today, I believe today, they are all still heavily struggling with his death and are struggling with how to deal with the grief or maybe not dealing with it. I think the vast majority aren't. And I'm so concerned and worried because, dude, I struggle with it, and I'm like your grandfather. I mean, I've had 60 plus years of life experience, and there's days where I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna fucking make it. So really, like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it today. This is a really bad day, and It goes through my mind, like really bad stuff. And how could it possibly be with you guys in your early 20s? This is a terrible event to go through. And so I worry about everybody, and I want you guys to all talk about it wherever you feel safe with whomever or whatever. I think that's like why the Discord's still so strong, because there's a bunch of goofy stuff they talk about on it, but there's channels about, called the venting channel, where it's specifically like, man, I'm really struggling today about this, or I'm thinking about killing myself today, or I'm thinking about using again, or, my parents just don't understand me. It's things of that sort. And then people jump in with hope and support and love. I think it's the hope thing.
I think it's the hope, and it's being reminded that having people, I think the Discord really helps, and having that, other people in there struggling, and also watching podcasts like these, being able to, you opening up about that, probably just whoever's watching this, it could have just helped multiple people, even grown men watching this. They're, it's like okay to struggle, but it's good to be reminded that you will get through it, and you will make it, and it's all part of your journey, is what it is.
I got to a point, Jordan, where I have to make a decision. And I have to make a decision from the standpoint of, like, what am I going to do with it? Because it's almost like I fell off a cliff, and I'm standing at a ravine, and the only way out is to climb up. And you look at it and you go, it's doable. It's not going to be easy. It hurts, but okay, fuck. One step. I go, I'm not going to just lay out here and die, so I'm going to do it. But I know a lot of other people don't do it, and they either turn to something else, or they just struggle, and they give up. Somehow, I'm here today, so I'm doing what I can, and I just want Coop's message out there that it's okay to feel these feelings, and it's okay to hurt and struggle with pain, but there's other choices that you can make. And I think he tried to talk to that with everybody, particularly right before he passed away, because he was really struggling with a lot of things. And I don't really know the whole story still, because there's a lot of things we're still learning, but I didn't know that he was on his way to a Bible study, with this kid that we met not too long ago, and, found out that, he's calling around that Cooper never showed up, and he was going to be there, and he was on his way, but didn't make it. And so, didn't know that he had these collaborations going on with some of these other artists, where there's actually stuff that they actually created in apparel that we're going to be launching this year. We just found this out recently, and we saw they already had the mock-ups, the artwork and stuff. Like, they actually already did it.
Wow.
Didn't know that he created the Discord until right after he passed away, and we heard from you guys when you were at our house that day. So it's kind of a really kind of prophetic, kind of a forward-thinking kid to do all this stuff, but he seemed to have had an effect on your guys' lives.
Yeah, I remember when he passed, the feeling like of shock, because I was just with him, like the week, I think the week prior, like probably like 7 days before. We were just got done filming a YouTube video with Anthony, just got done hanging out.
Is that a video that's out? See, yeah. I didn't even know any of this. I didn't know you until the service that we had. I didn't know a lot of these friends.
I hung out with Cooper. I've known Cooper since 2020, I think, and we became really good friends in 2022. I think like the beginning of like we had been friends. We have hung out since 2020, but I think like when it became like me and Cooper hanging out, like that was around 2022. I think the beginning.
How'd you guys meet originally?
We met through the content houses. And then I was friends with Jaden, and obviously Jaden and Coop were always always, together. And I've got YouTube videos out with Coopers in 2020. Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've seen those.
We would all go
Is
to
that
the
on your
skate
channel?
park. I think there's a video out on Vinny's YouTube channel and then Anthony's YouTube channels. I wasn't really doing YouTube at the time. But yeah, we would go out and hang out. We would skateboard.
You skated?
I suck at skating.
I didn't know you skated.
No, I mean I can skate a little bit, but like nothing like Cooper. Cooper's great. That was shockingly great. That was like such a random little thing. He just would come over and
So he got you guys to skate?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he would. So like him and Quentin would get us to go to the skate park, and Vinny skated too. So we would all go skateboard and hang out, and it was just like a really amazing time. I remember feeling zero worry during that time. It was just perfect.
Yeah.
Like everything was blissful. It was the beginning of our adulthood, and I mean, what better way to go into being adults? It was the most exciting, coolest thing you could have possibly done.
Was he with Sab at that time? Or pre-Sab?
Oh, he actually was.
Okay.
He actually was. Because I remember I met him in September right before him and Sab, and then I think him and Sab, I remember him texting me about Sab, and he was like asking me advice on what little cute gift baskets he should get her for Halloween. Yeah.
So this was like right at the very beginning.
This was when they were just starting to talk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
was she out here already?
I
maybe,
think so.
Maybe not.
I think she might have just moved into a content house or something.
Yeah, she just came from Florida.
Yeah.
I have a story about that one. That was, gosh, Cooper. I don't know if you know this story. So, he met her, I don't know, online, I think. Mm-hmm. I thought he met her when he went to a social media convention thing in Florida.
Yeah.
And Quentin was there, and Treva went, and then, they all stayed together, but it wasn't. I guess they met online. I want to make sure that I got the story correct. Sab can, correct it. But he's still staying with us, and he's just moved in with Parker, his sister, in L.A., and he needs a ride back up from Laguna to Parker's house. So he goes, on the way up there, it's like a Monday morning, and it's busy with me with work, and okay, I'm going to take you up, and I got to get back before traffic. So right as we're getting pretty close to getting off the freeway, he goes, "Hey, Dad, could you mind, I got to pick up a friend of mine and then bring him back to Parker's house?" And like, okay, it's like another 20 minutes. So we go up, and we're in this hills, and this girl comes out with this big ass suitcase, which is Sab, who travels like with the world's biggest suitcase, right? Yeah. And I find out that she's going to come with Cooper, and she's staying a couple weeks with Cooper at Parker's place. And I'm going, wait a minute, does Parker know this? I'm thinking, like, I'm not getting involved in this. So we both have to put Sab's suitcase in the back of my car. Hi, nice to meet you, this and that. That was the beginning of their relationship. I guess they had kind of seen each other. She came out to live in the content house, the girls one, and then all of a sudden Parker tells a story like, "Hi, this is Sab. She's staying here for a couple weeks." She's like, "What?" But Parker goes, "Gosh, she's a really cool gal. I really like her a lot." So like everything worked out. But that's kind of what he would do. He would kind of spring it on you. This is what's happening.
No, he definitely was like that. Like
kind of like the college thing.
Yeah, he definitely. Yeah, I'm still kind of pondering the college thing now that you say that. I'm like, because I was with him a lot, almost like I would say every other day I was with him in 2022.
I didn't know this at all.
Yeah, we would go to the gym together. So we would work out at Dog Pound, and
I remember those days. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Sab had a brand deal with them. And
yeah, they had like a partnership of some sort. So they like, if they posted, they got like, they were able to train there. And I would always go with Cooper because he was just like, he just always looked up to me with fitness advice. And I really don't have the greatest fitness advice. But he would always go around in the gym telling everyone I was on steroids and stuff. I was like, bro, what are you doing? But like he was just funny. So we would just go to I just remember I would go to his apartment and then we would go walk to the gym together pretty much every single day. I mean, anytime he'd text me it's time to go, I'm there. Like I was ready.
He was into it. And he got really like fit.
He did get really fit. Yeah. I remember him getting super shredded. Yeah. Like out of nowhere. Yeah. Like he just got really ripped. And I was like, dang, dude, you're really doing this.
When he got into things, he got into it. Like when he got into skateboarding, he was going to master it and he was going to go to this level, that level, that level. And then all of a sudden, I'm done.
He was really great at skateboarding. Yeah. Like I grew up skating and I'm by no means good at skating. I can do probably a couple tricks and can skate on a board, but like he was really good at skateboarding. And I remember just like thinking just how good he is. I'm like, how do you do that? How do you just like casually just pull up and just do this like casually? Even when he was so young, he was just good.
He spent a lot of time at it. We have these videos of him as a real little kid in our cul-de-sac skateboarding and learning to deal with this stuff. We took him and his buddies, Landon and Karcher, everywhere to skate. And there's these sweaty, stinky little kids in the back of our Volkswagen van, passed out. And we go to In-N-Out Burger, and they're dripping. And they smell like stinky little boys, right? Yeah. And then they're just all passed out on each other. It's sleep.
That's good though. That's like, I'm sure Karcher and them probably remember those, have good memories with all that stuff. Yeah. Those guys were cool. Those were some of his friends that I wish I would have met sooner. Those guys are so cool. Like,
they're good kids.
Yeah.
And they're just farther away. And, Cooper's deal was, his connection up to LA was with Jaden. And they really clicked well together. And he liked it up there. I think getting back to it was he felt accepted. That people basically said, we like you for who you are. Because when he grew up, he struggled with that. Being out of the box, he always felt like he never fit in, and he didn't like it. There were certain friends that, like Landon and Karcher, and there's a group of girls that he grew up with. They were there that day at that paddle out. That they accepted him, but for the vast majority, when you have to deal with like, in school, it's like sports. If you're a guy. Dating.
Was he not really into the sports and dating that much?
He was a very good athlete, but that whole world of like, that's what you're into, that really wasn't his deal. He was more of the creative, out of the box thinker. And if you weren't in the box, you're kind of like not cool. So he goes up to LA, meets all you guys. It just resonates with him. And then I think, for all of you, going into COVID, 2019, 2020, 2021, you're right there when, Instagram was blowing up and TikTok was blowing up. And, you create good content. You guys got good looks that resonate with people. And all of a sudden, you're on a pathway. And you're all kind of seen with other people that are.
And then everyone sees you, and then all of a sudden, like, I think the cool thing about LA and our group in LA is we were all the kids who didn't fit in the box, I think, in school. So like, it was interesting because everyone always told me, like, warning me, oh, be careful moving to LA. Everyone there is fake. Everyone's gonna hurt you. Everyone's gonna, chew you up and spit you out. Take advantage of you. All those things. I mean, some people, sure, that's true. Right. But I would say I have found the realest people I've ever known in my life. I would say I'm so thankful that I took the risk to move to LA. I don't know where I would be in my life now if I would have never done that. And I would say Cooper probably would have said the same exact thing. I know all of us would say the same thing. Like, we are all the kids who didn't fit, I think, in the box. Right. And then when we all came around to like meeting each other, you're just like, oh, this kid just gets me. Even like we all relate. All of us relate. Like I I don't have one negative feeling or emotion or problem, nor have I ever in the past 4 years I've been living here, have I had one negative interaction with anyone that I've been friends with here for the past 4 years.
I think for most of it, these other kids, they don't care if you're successful. They're happy for you. And they're not like jealous or upset, or they're not really selfish. I found like all these kids, they're all very empathetic, and they're happy for the success.
They want to see you win.
Yeah,
and that's
and they
like
just
the
like
most
you. This is
beautiful
cool,
thing.
and they're doing their thing. You're doing your thing, and they want to. They're just happy about it. They all kid around. Everybody, jokes, does stuff together. No one's bitchy or negative. I thought it was really special as I got to know everybody, like how really sincere and loving they are, which is like, I know Coop saw that because he really felt like if somebody was struggling, he really wanted to reach out and connect with that and help as much as he could. I've heard that from everybody and their personal experiences with him. How do you think I want to ask you this. Your experience with Cooper, how's it changed you?
With his passing?
Just with everything. Just him being in your life, and if you look back or you look today and go, how has knowing that kid affected you?
He made me want to be a better friend. And I think I struggled growing up with friends, and I could not keep friendships, and it wasn't anything to do with me. It wasn't that we had big falling outs or anything like that. It's just, I think from moving around a lot, I was used to that 3-year mark where every 3 years I'd move. So it's like about every 3 years it was time to go.
Like these friends are going to be gone. This friendship's coming to an end.
Yeah.
Because I'm used to that happening.
So I was used to
start over again.
I was used to finding a friend in myself. So I had to find the internal, friendship, and it was always Jordan, and I realized how that's not the greatest thing. You don't want it to just be, me, myself, and I. And
no, we're not made to be that way as human beings.
And I think with when Cooper passed is when it made me think to myself, oh, I really want to be a great friend. I really want to be a great person. And I remember the internal, it just was an overnight switch, in me. I immediately became more aware. I immediately became more present. I immediately became more, I would say, sincere. I'm not saying I was ever fake or anything.
Yeah, I don't think you were. None of that.
No, I don't think I was, but it was I feel more of a pull towards being if I see my friend acting a little bit off, I'm going to check on my friend, and I'm going to go out of my way to check on my friend. If I can see my buddy struggling, it just kind of opened my eyes. And I think Cooper really, he was an amazing friend too. I really want to make that known that he was a great friend, and he was great to everybody in his life. And I really admired that. And I remember being a little bit more shy around certain people for whatever reason. I don't know why I'm shy. It's one of those things, stop being shy.
I don't sense that in you, but you do. You sense it.
Yeah. It's totally, as I've gotten older, I'm not even close to as shy as I was. And it was more just the fear of being judged and things like that. But that dude never made you feel judged. Even if you were insecure about something, he would joke on you about it. And then he'd say dude, you're you're beautiful, bro. Like, what are you tripping
He
about?
would just be
you know?
fucking with you.
Yeah.
And a way to let you know, like, dude, you really are really cool. You know?
And I remember thinking, like, I remember my guard just dropping whenever I was with Cooper. I was like, oh, I really just enjoyed being with him. And I think I really admired how good and caring of a friend he was. And I think that really took a big toll on me when he passed. And it was one of those things that I didn't really realize until he passed, when I was like, man, dude, like, I'm going to miss you a lot.
But you're also young too, which is, you have to take that into consideration.
I don't think anyone young should have to, go through that or that feeling. And it was, it was tough. And I remember feeling so human. And I remember feeling like a feeling I've never felt before. I remember crying, and then I remember crying, and like, I've never felt that cry before. You know what I'm saying?
I do, unfortunately. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. But it's grief. And I read that grief is unexpressed love.
Yeah.
And I think if you're grieving for someone, it's beautiful. You're going to see, we will see Cooper again one day, and he's watching over us. He's here. He's probably chilling around here somewhere, watching and listening, and probably thinking how cool it is that, Jordan and my dad are sitting here being able to talk right now.
Have you dealt with the grief? Have you been aware of grief? Mm-hmm. And when you've become aware of it, what have you done with the grief? Like when you feel it, when you feel grieving particularly, what have you actually done? Have you just embraced it, or have you found yourself at times like, I can't deal with it right now, or this is an appropriate time, this reminds of it? I'm just curious because everybody handles it differently, or they don't handle it. I'm just curious
I handled it pretty quickly, but also not quickly. It was like it came in waves, and I remember it hitting really hard. I think like probably week 2 or something like that, and it was like really sad and heavy, and then it was really sad and heavy. And on like week 2, when you, like, I just remember still to this day, it was surreal, because I remember whenever I would go to bed for that first week or 2, it would be like a flutter of memories, and memories I didn't even think I had, like memories I didn't even remember. And it, like, if I could try to think about them, I wouldn't even remember them. It was all the little tiny memories, like all these little snippets of like, oh, dude,
things that pop up.
Yeah, and I'd wake up crying, and that was weird. I've never done that before. I've never woken up crying. I'd wake up crying and just like sick and like ill, and it was one of those things where I had to accept that I loved Cooper, and I was like, I really loved Cooper, and I remember like thinking to myself, this is so normal to be feeling, so I'm not gonna make it be that it's not normal, because this is a normal feeling. This is what I should be feeling, Yes. And I have to get through it. And I remember thinking about that and processing it and stuff. And then I remember as soon as I processed it, I was like, let me try to be there for you and his family, his closest friends, Jaden, Nessa, like those were his.
Did you ever talk to anybody else about this, your grief, or did anybody else you guys ever have conversations about this?
I called Jaden, crying. We cried on the phone, and we just were like, because I don't think me and him had talked for a while, and that was kind of like, I remember I called him, and we were just like both crying, and since then our friendship has been like, amazing, and it's crazy because it's been, almost 2 years now, and it's like that feels like yesterday. Those are still like my closest friends, and it's bizarre. And and I remember I talked to it was interesting. I actually called my grandpa, and
I remember when we talked I think the second time when we were sitting in our sitting room. You remember that? We were kind of catching up. You explained to me about you have a really close relationship with your grandpa.
I have an amazingly close relationship with my grandpa.
Closer than I think than your parents.
Oh, I'm amazingly close with my parents.
Okay.
If they're watching this, like,
Okay,
I'm
maybe I have it wrong, but what stood out was that you have this.
I do have an amazing relationship with my grandpa. Like, it's very different from my relationship with my parents. And I'll say that because my grandpa ever since I was a kid, he treated me as if we were the same age.
Yeah.
And he always talked to me being very real, very
cool.
open. Amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And like, I didn't realize how much I really needed that. So that is like a built-in best friend, that I was born with this best friend, and it's my grandpa. So like
he saw it, that you needed it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think he sees himself in me, and he always says, you're always a better grandfather than you are a father, is what he said, which is interesting.
That's a very, very profound point. I was told by someone, I remember when our kids were younger and they were in sports, when the games or something were over, let's say they didn't win, the typical thing is there's dad in the car telling you what you should have done. You probably should have done this. You should have done that. Like the coach, right? Where someone advised me, said, you got to be like the grandfather effect. And it's like, what do you mean? He goes, well, they're going to be in the car with you. What would a grandfather do? Gosh, Jordan, I just love watching you play. You played so great. God, it just always makes me happy just to watch you out there. Let's go get an ice cream. It was always about taking the high road, not trying to
He always like would laugh about everything. If I was upset about something, he'd laugh about it. He'd be like, dude, you're good.
Yeah.
Or he'd give me advice. Like, I remember I was always feeling like I was always comparing myself to people, and like in all these things growing up. And I think it was very hard for me moving around. I didn't realize it as a kid, but moving around so much, especially to different states, and immediately going into new schools consistently.
That's hard.
I didn't realize how hard it was.
It's hard enough to just be in school with kids you grow up with, let alone being plucked out every 3 years and starting over.
It was starting over.
Hard.
Yeah, it was tough. And I think he was seeing me trying to fit in. And some of the best advice he told me was he said on the phone, he said, dude, everyone's shit stinks. And I was like, and it was one of those moments where I was like,
grandpa quotes.
No way. And I guess his mom, my Grandma Marina, she would say that to him when he was a kid. She was just like, Keith, his name's Keith. Yeah. She was like, Keith, everyone's shit stinks. Like, and it's funny if you would see her. It's funny to think that she would say that.
I might have to rip that one off and use it. It sounds so good.
It's amazing. My sister got me a T-shirt for my birthday, and on the back it says "Everyone's shit stinks." Like, that was it. Because I love that quote. It's so true, and it's like it really makes. If you can look at someone, you're like, I know. They know. They know. They're normal. They're human, and I think my grandpa has always given me just really fun advice with life, and really showed me how unserious everything should be.
Exactly. Not take everything so serious. Like it's the end all, which it isn't.
He just lost his son. So my uncle, he actually passed away the same time Cooper did. And we didn't know. He was the morgue had him for 4 months. And they had no idea because it was a broken relationship, and they didn't know. And he got a call saying, "What should we do about this?" And he said, "What are you talking about?" And they were like, "You're the father. Your son's here." And he was like, "What?" And
he didn't know it all.
Didn't know it all.
Oh my God.
And so I found this out this past summer, I think, or like around April or May, I think. And yeah, that was really sad. That was my Uncle Jesse. So my mom's brother.
How did your grandfather take it?
He, I think, is still grieving.
Yeah.
And it's it's one of those things, especially because the relationship was very broken. My uncle was really troubled with just, he was like, I think he was 40 years old, and he was just, and he died from, I think, overdose too.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
Yeah. So, and it was interesting because I think he passed away the same week Cooper did. Isn't that
Wow.
crazy? I had no idea. None of us did. And
Yeah.
and it was like,
Oh, I'm
yeah.
really
So
sorry.
he's going, my grandpa's going through that, like, in my grandpa and grandma and my mom, because I have a really small family. So like that, hearing stuff like that, it hurts, you know? So it's
I'm sure
painful.
you've been there for your grandpa. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been, he's grieving. I think the point I was bringing back earlier about my grandpa being the first person I called when one of the, I think he was, or one of the first people I really called crying about Cooper, was because I've known my grandpa has lost all of his friends pretty much. He's at the age where he's getting more phone calls about his friends, you know, his best friends leaving, than they are calling to say hey.
Yeah.
And that's really, I can imagine, a surreal thing. So I called him to understand grief, and he just like really helped me.
Wow.
And I just am very lucky I have somebody like that in my life.
Jordan, like I mentioned earlier, that a lot of the, Coop's friends and his circle of friends, I felt that couple things that I felt that like a lot of them didn't deal with grief for about 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
And then to me, it's like going to the bathroom. You're going to go in your pants unless you find a bathroom. Okay, you're going. It comes out. I mean, it's going to hit you. I was one that didn't deal with it for about 8 months, and then it hit, and it was overwhelming. And I also hear that a lot of his friends felt guilty.
Interesting.
Like I wish I could have done more. But there's also that, you can't do. You can only do so much until someone is willing to do it for themselves, and or you're enabling. So, and you also got to protect your own, mental health boundaries and things that you might have struggled, because some of the kids have had previous struggles with, addiction and things of that sort. And so you can't. There's a fine line of like, I'm there for you, but I can't help you, and I can't, enable it. And so, but it's the talking that gets you through it. I'm not so sure if everybody's really gotten to that point yet. We try to be as much as possible, but things keep coming up that happen that keep kind of pulling the scab back, and it's like, okay, I guess it's happening for a reason. And so I try to look at the positive side of things. And we're going through this, obviously, for a positive reason. In particular, like, the people that were involved in Cooper's death have been arrested. This usually doesn't happen, but it's happening in his case. So they're being prosecuted. So now we're involved in that legal aspect of, is there going to be any, is there going to be a trial, or there's processes that go with it that make you have to go back and relive this. And so it gets hard, but I look at it like, okay, there's going to be some good that comes out of this, and that's why it's happening. So let's look for it and see how much we might be able to help other people with it. And that allows you to kind of understand it in perspective. But it's not been easy, and I'm always just so concerned about you and all of his friends, because, like you said earlier, this is something you should have never had to go through, none of us, but you're so young, and you haven't had much life experience yet. None of you are married, none of you have kids, some of you have pets. That's the first thing to a responsibility.
Yeah.
You might have a girlfriend.
First kid.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like, this is hard. This is real life stuff, and it's hard. And we just want you guys to, like, we don't want to lose anybody else.
I think it really showed the importance of life, and like the importance of relationships, and how unpermanent everything is. That I think, just in life, it's so not permanent. We don't know, we don't know anything. really. We don't know what's happening next or tomorrow or in the next 2 hours. We don't really know.
We know that we're here.
And we know that we're here. Yeah, and I think that's one
And
of
how
the
are we
most...
going to live our lives?
Yeah.
What choices are we going to make? Are we going to be kind? Or are we going to be an ass? Like, even when people are like total dickheads to us, like, okay, I got a choice. You know, like I can I have a boundary, but do I have to be like an ass back to an ass? I can choose to be like, turn the other cheek until you don't leave me alone. And then I have to like tell you, like, leave me alone. But
anyone who's an ass to me, I pray for them.
yeah,
That's about it, you know? That's all you can really...
because it's
like
not
all
about
can
you,
do.
it's about them.
Yeah, if you're being an ass to somebody, that's a you problem.
But that happens a lot growing up. Let's talk about this. It's like, when I talked with you the last time at our house, I know that you were, at that time, if you remember, you were kind of struggling what you were going to do with your career. I remember saying, dude, I think you got this look. I think you could be killing it as a model or as an actor. You know, you're a brand influencer. You have this vibe, and you communicate really well. Do you remember when we talked about that?
Yeah.
I thought, man, this guy's gifted. This guy's he's gonna go somewhere. He needs to do this. I can see it. And then I think the last time I spoke to you, I don't even know when it was. I think I called you.
Yeah.
You decided to switch management.
Yeah.
And so you're with today. So tell me what you're doing today, who you're with, and what, like, I know you're traveling the world, you're modeling, you're doing a bunch of stuff. You're like the New Zealander.
The new Hansel.
Exactly. So tell me about I know people want to know what you're doing and what you got going.
So, team wise, I'm with Alana now.
Okay.
And that's been amazing. I was with my previous team for about 3 years. They were amazing. Have absolutely nothing negative. I think it was just time for a change.
And why? What was it with Alana's group? What was it about it?
Alana reached out, and it was more of a mutual. I think it was just more of a mutual, just kind of meeting, seeing where things were at, and we just kind of talked about it. And I feel like with the stuff she's doing and with the fashion stuff she's kind of got going on, I feel like it was just a good fit.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the reason I took that risk. And I think it was just, I have an existing relationship with her. Like, it was a comfortable switch.
Well, you see, like, for the viewers that don't know who Alana is, she's with Homemade. She's a manager. She manages Sab and Emma and Zach and you, and managed Cooper briefly. And you could see the success that Emma and Anna and Zach are having.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, God, that's like, I always think like, that's where you need to be.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I think that's all the stuff I love. Everything they're doing is all the things I love and have grown up loving. So yeah, I feel like for fashion and modeling opportunities and brand partnerships with the right brands and companies, I feel like it was just an amazing opportunity with Alana. It was one of those things where it's like, why not? I'm young. Let me just, go for it. And
so, like, can you name some of the brands that have been working with, and some of the places you've traveled to, and some of the events that you've been involved with?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot. I've done a lot of work with Dior, Saint Laurent.
Really? Those are some like legit names.
Yeah.
That's big time. That's big time stuff.
Yeah, super cool. And Valentino, Prada.
Seriously? Mm-hmm. Wow, I didn't know that. I thought it was like maybe some off brands and skincare products and stuff like that. I didn't, No, that's legit.
Definitely some cool brands, and it. But I've been doing that for almost 4 years now, building relationships with brands like that. And there's more in there. I've had a lot of really cool opportunities. I've been so lucky. I really think I've been really lucky.
And been able to make a living.
And have been able to make a living, and I've been so fortunate and so lucky, really. I really have. And I always remind myself of that. I'm like, man, dude, what are you doing? Like, I remember it's really funny because I haven't walked any runway shows yet, but I did get flown out by Gucci like this past year. They flew me out to Milan to go like
Really?
potentially walk for their show. I didn't book it. I was just like, dude, what? I flew like 15 hours and I just didn't. It just didn't work out. That was it. Just didn't.
But they flew you.
They flew me out and it was cool. So I
haven't. They probably create options, like see how it's going to fit, whatever.
Yeah. So I flew out. I walked in front of their whole team. Everything was good. They were like good. Threw the outfit on. They were like good. Took photos, and that's usually when you're like got the job. You're good. And they ended up just going with a guy who was bald and just had a completely different look than I had for the look. And it was, I was just like, it was one of those things.
Yeah, you got to the plate.
Whatever.
You're getting the opportunities.
But it was a really cool opportunity because I was like, really, like, I was like, whoa, like I remember dreaming of doing something like this. So like just being here and being able to like be in their warehouse and walking in front of all their designers and their team, I was just like, wow, this is so surreal. I just remember being present and I remember being like, wow, this is a really cool opportunity. And then over the summer, I got flown out by Saint Laurent and for their show in Berlin. So they flew me out and that was the coolest experience I've had in my entire life.
Is that the one where you just did the put a YouTube video on the plane?
Yeah, it took a while to get that video out. But I found those old clips. I forgot I had recorded some of it.
They flew you out and they flew you business?
Yeah.
That's not cheap.
No.
That's cool.
No. Yeah, it was cool.
That's very legit.
It was,
so you got the little pod you could sleep in.
Yeah. It was a very legit experience. I got to attend their runway show, got to do, it was the whole experience.
And you got to meet other people and connect.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I met a ton of people, a ton of really cool people. And, it was really cool. I definitely had imposter syndrome a little bit when I was there. I was like, oh, why do I have to like, why am I here? I was like, what do I do? So that's been the big, I think, for me lately, that's been the big turning point is who am I?
You're getting exposure.
Yeah. So getting the right exposure, but then it's like, who am I? Am I just a model? Am I just an influencer? So the one thing I've always wanted to do was be an actor since I was like 7, 8 years old.
Yeah,
I remember.
That's what I was going to ask you. What do you want to do with all this? Mm-hmm. Because you're getting a platform to expose who you are. But what does Jordan want to do? Like, where do you want to end up? What is your passion?
Jordan loves film, movies, just amazing creative direction, stories. I love all of it. So, like, anything that's a great story. I love great stories, and I love good aesthetics and good visuals and good characters, and that's what I've loved my entire life. Didn't grow up loving sports, didn't grow up loving any of that. It was always movies, and that was it. Everyone I've ever looked up to is an actor, and that's where I want to be. So Are
you moving in that direction?
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing to do that?
So this month,
because you're still doing modeling and branding, and I noticed you start doing some YouTube stuff recently.
Yeah, so it's actually funny, the YouTube thing. I'm doing that mainly because one of my I don't have many regrets, but one of my few regrets was that I haven't been documenting enough of my life growing up and enough of these experiences. The YouTube, I don't care if it does well. I don't care. I'm not a YouTuber. That's not my thing.
Right.
I'm just posting on there to like look back and have cool memories to look back on and be like, wow, it's like a time capsule to me. That's it. So that's why I'm doing the YouTube.
That's actually a good vibe to do a YouTube channel, because it's not there for the normal reasons of like to send a message out or expose something or to sell something. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, I just want to store my memories of like what it is so I can look back.
It's like home videos.
That's very organic and generic. I love it.
Yeah, that's all I really want to do with the YouTube is just put my memories there and just forget about it. Like I don't even check the YouTube channel. I keep forgetting I have it. So like I forgot I posted those YouTube videos until you brought it up. just to look back one day and be like, oh man, that was like 5 years ago. That's crazy.
Wow.
Just to see, you know, where I'm at then. And that's pretty much it for the YouTube. But the acting stuff, I'm finally taking the right steps in that direction. I got an agent. I've got an agent who's helping me work right now with castings and stuff like
So
that.
is this like with separate from Homemade?
Yeah.
Is it like CAA, somebody like that, IMG, or?
No, it's a more boutique agency, and they're really just helping me, like they're pushing me. So
Are they honing you? Like, is there like acting lessons for the craft, or is it?
So I'm about to be going to acting school.
Okay.
I think about like kind of an acting school. I guess it's considered to be an acting school. So that's what I'm about to be doing this month. As soon as I get back from New York, I'm going into that, and then I'll be in that for about 6 months. And I guess they do have me on like a kind of like a program that they're wanting me to do. So they're wanting me to go
to get you prepared.
Yeah, so I'm going to this like acting school and like training for about 6 months, where I'm going to be learning like the Meisner technique, which is like a specific acting technique. And then I'm going to be working with like 2 different coaches after that to like really get myself prepared. Our goal is to be fully prepared by the end of this year to be going out for lead roles.
And so they'll get you for, what do they call it, like casting opportunities?
Yeah.
So they have the connections for that to get you in front
I've already done some big castings, and it's difficult. I mean, I have the utmost respect for actors, but I think the thing I really love about actors, and the reason I've always looked up to them, is because they have a different sense of confidence, I think, and charisma about themselves. I mean, you have to really set yourself aside to like really, I think, do a lot of things these actors have to do on screen or in these casting rooms, or just in general. You really have to put your ego and your feelings and your like you aside and really dive into that. And I find it really exciting.
I've had the opportunity in my real estate business, excuse me, to meet some successful actors, and I'm always amazed. Like I met one recently, very successful. I've seen his films, and I go, man, this guy's like really good. There's one particular film where I go, this guy is from serious to somewhat comedy. It's like insanely good.
Yeah.
Then you meet the guy and you go, this guy's weird.
Really?
Yeah, it's like, damn, I didn't expect this.
Yeah.
And I go, okay, again.
Well, that's his true self you're probably seeing.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
I'm not saying weird, it's just like
No,
nothing like
they're-
the guy,
Yeah, because they're playing a character, and like that's what they're professionals at.
But how good that they can get in front of a camera and consistently, because my understanding is that you're not starting from the beginning to end of a story. It's pieces are being filmed and they assemble it. So I don't even know how you could do that consistently.
But
wow, this guy, I was utmost respect for like how good this guy was. And yeah, like, and it's not somebody I hang out with, but but a really good actor.
Yeah, there's acting is an art, is what I've learned, and I've learned that from interviews. I mean, I've watched every interview you could possibly watch of my favorite actors and acting advice and all these things. And it is it's a craft, it's an art. It's like something I'm anxious about, I'm nervous about, but I'm excited about because it's so new. I mean, I know I'm gonna be humiliating myself for the next couple of years, so like I'm like mentally preparing myself. But it's cool because it's like it's so unserious, and I think that's what I kind of like about it. It's serious, but it's so unserious because you just get to let loose and.
Well, if you have the same attitude approaching this craft like you have about filming what you're doing on YouTube for those reasons, then I think you're going to be very successful because it's going to be very genuine and very realistic, because that's how you've always come across. That's how I like when I've talked to you those couple times at our home, I resonated with you because you were very quick to be real and open. Where and I think you're very mature for your age. Where some of your peers, still a little guarded and maybe not as mature yet. but you come across very genuine, very real, and I think that's what people want. They want to be able to connect. Well, as a humans, we want to connect. And I think we're at our best when we connect. It allows us to go away and be like re-energized to do what we do. But I think we get our cup filled by connecting in our relationships so that we can be who we are, and have the power to be who we are. And you come across that way very well. I've always, like I said, I always felt you had a vibe about you, a look. I think it's who you are. It's really what it is. Not so much your hair or your face or your whatever. And I think your time's coming. And I think you're going to crush it. Because I'm so happy to hear the progress you made from when we last talked. And I can tell that you're happy about it. You were stressed back then. You were like, I think you were stressed about money, where you're living, that being fulfilled. Is it working?
Well, I think I'm figuring out ways to process my stress, like in where I should be putting it and how much stress I should be allowing myself to feel. And one of the things that I found that has worked amazing for me is when you work in this business, you have a lot of free time.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it gets really dangerous. That's where people start getting into bad habits or bad things and doing bad things or getting lazy and making.
Yeah. You can drift.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's
instead of design what you want to do, you can drift.
Yeah. So I find myself too some days getting bored or feeling like I've got nothing going for my life, and I
don't like that.
Yeah, it's a terrible feeling, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to feel this. But one thing that always snaps me out of it is, who cares? I will tell myself that. I'll be sitting on the couch and I'm like stressing. And it's like, 11 o'clock at night. And I'm like, what is me stressing right now going to do for my life or for my career? Nothing. So stop stressing. Yeah. I'm a blip right now in my life.
It's going to take time off your life.
Yeah,
it's really what it'll do.
It really will. And it will ruin a lot of things in my life. So I've really been letting everything roll off my back and not letting it really affect me. And I think I've been able to grow because of that. And I think I've been able to become I don't care really what's going to happen, because I know I'm working hard every day, and I think I'm going to be in a great place regardless, no matter how many ups or downs I have.
It'll happen.
Yeah.
Because you're creating the momentum in a positive direction of what you're passionate about. It will come.
Yeah,
I think that's why you're here, the success you've had so far. You're creating it.
And you don't realize you're creating it. You're just doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things. I still feel like the same Jordan when I was, since I can remember, since I was able to think at 7 years old. I'm still the same person, just a little bit more damaged or a little bit more life experience. But I can still look in the mirror and laugh at myself,
Girlfriend. How long?
3 years.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Same gal.
Yeah, same gal. Yeah.
Living together?
No. We were living together for 2 years, and I decided to. We didn't move away from each other because we were miserable living together. Right. I needed more space for me. I'm young. I'm just in that place in my life where I need space to focus. I need my own environment. I don't want anything really affecting that. I need to
focus.
I need to focus. Yeah, I need to go to work.
So it had nothing. It didn't affect your relationship with her. No. Meaning we broke up or no. It just that's a hard one to adjust, to make that kind of adjustment. Usually it's the other way. We're moving into each other and going to a next step, right? Yeah. To take a step out from living each other, you could see how that could, maybe not be as successful.
Well, yeah, she's I got really lucky because she's also my best friend too. So it's I didn't really, it's one of those things where you're so used to somebody being your girlfriend or your boyfriend, and you don't realize how like I didn't realize how she's literally like my best friend. Like she's like, put the girlfriend aside, like that's my best friend too, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's kind of, I feel like I've been able to, I don't know. I feel like it's different. It's something, and it's an experience right now that I didn't know I'd be going through with like moving away, you know, living with each other for years to then moving away and having, you know, our own places. She lives with her friends. And I think that was one of the things she wanted to know what it was like just living with her like friends and like just experiencing that. And I think we've been happier in our own personal lives because
you have the space.
Yeah, because what I've heard about relationships is you go through your honeymoon phase in the beginning. That lasts an X amount of months to a year. And then you begin to have like your ego split, which I was reading about, because your ego becomes one for like a period of time with your partner.
It's like your identity becomes one.
Yeah. So it's like, it's no longer just you, it's you and them. So like, that's how your brain works.
Are you taking notes?
So
Stead's just got engaged.
Oh, no way. Yeah.
So take notes on this.
So I've found we had an ego split where that I think made the relationship a little bit rocky because all of a sudden it's like, wait, do you care about me? Do you not care about me? It's one of those like,
are we just kind of roommates?
Yeah. Like, you know, you go through that, you're like you start, you know, clashing a little bit. And then if you don't make it through that, you usually break up. But we actually made it through that. And I think we are now individually our own selves.
Right.
And I really love that. Yeah. So it's like, I'm me, and then it's me and my girlfriend. And then she's
then you
her.
complement each other.
Yes. So we're
two can
like
come
friends
together and complement as opposed to sharing an identity. And you have greater respect and it works better for each other.
Totally. Yeah. I have grown to love her in ways that I've learned to love her in ways that I didn't really ever think about just from going through a relationship. Because when you have a girlfriend, you're dating, you know, 5 different people, basically. You know, you got your girlfriend's got, you know, all of her different, you know, moods and stuff, you know, and personalities.
Maybe we'll just leave it there. But it's like my relationship with Treva. We're completely different, and yet we meet in the middle a lot. And like the example is we overlap, but we have completely separate, you know, personalities and identities. And I think one of the greatest things that we learned in our relationship is that we need space. She travels with her friends or her own, does what she's going to do, and great. I have no problem being at home and alone and doing what I'm doing. Or then I'll go, like I've, you know, in the last 20-some years, I've, you know, traveled playing volleyball and competed. But then we come back and miss each other. So it's allowed us to be able to give that togetherness and yet give me space to have some breathing room and do things that I like to do, things she likes to do, and then you come back to the center. And it's still moving forward.
It's a commitment. It's a partnership. Like that's how I think relationships become. And I feel like everyone always talks about the beginning of the relationship, the super lovey-dovey, like if you're in a good relationship, that stuff lasts.
Yeah, no, of course it is.
Yeah. But but I feel like a relationship is a commitment. You know, and the love is also a commitment. You don't necessarily stay in the, you know, lovey-dovey.
No, you're not in the honeymoon period. It dissipates.
It's a different kind of love and respect I think you end up having for a partner.
You know, when Cooper passed, within the next few days, we, you know, that little sitting room there that we sit in and talk in, we sat there, you know, we were both like just out of it. And I said, this is something that will have the ability to break us up. And so it's going to be up to us how we're going to deal with this. So we either have to look to each other for that resource and we got to hold on to each other now. Otherwise we won't survive. This is too far beyond us. And we made the commitment to do that. Yeah, and I mean, it's obviously it's worked, but I don't think that the truest quality in life can happen unless you have two things. And you don't necessarily have to have two of them, but you have to have one of them, I think, in my experience. One is if you can have that relationship with your partner where it's open and it's honest and it's truthful, and you could say, I need to share this with you, and you can talk about it and get through it. I think you have an enriched relationship. And I think that's something you pass on to your family, to your kids. The other part is I think you have to have God. If you don't have God, I don't know how anybody can survive anything. I would not be here today if it wasn't for my faith in God. I would not be alive. It's the thing that kept me together. It's kept all of us together. And it's the thing that I pray for every day, that it keeps everybody here and moving forward, because I do believe that Cooper has plans for every one of you guys. Somehow you're going to have an effect on somebody else. I don't know. I think you know that there's a documentary being done about Cooper, and it just started filming a couple of weeks ago, and we're in this process now. Or the producer is of doing all these interviews and film. And I asked him. He didn't know Cooper, and so he's gotten to learn, and he's learning more by talking with everybody. So I asked him at the very beginning. I go, I'm gonna ask you a question when this is almost over, but I'm going to ask you how Cooper changed your life, because he's going to change your fucking life. He's changing all of our lives, and it's like, and you're going to have an answer. You're going to look back at this day when I'm telling you, I'm going to ask you that question, and then somewhere in the future you're going to go, holy shit, this is how it happened. And I know he had a great impact with you and with everybody else. I still think there's stuff that you're going to see and feel and do, and it's going to have a wonderful impact on people around you. Because I still think he's still here kind of guiding all of us to do this.
I think God is working through Cooper to work through us, or like people. And I remember this specifically from that one day you called me. I don't know if you remember I remember I was sitting on my balcony and you called me like randomly, and I was definitely struggling. I think I was at probably the lowest point in my life, which is so interesting to think about now, because I'm so far past that now, those feelings. But I remember being in a really not a good place and not talking about it because I was embarrassed. And I remember you called me and you said to me, I just want to call you and let you know everything's going to be good. And dude, I remember I just started crying, and I was like, oh, that was so weird. I remember thinking how weird that was. And you said, Cooper told me to call you.
Was.
And I was like, dude, I was definitely not doing good. And I remember thinking that, yeah.
I get these feelings like it'll pop up. Like that day, you popped up in my mind, and it said, call Jordan. And I'm like, so I've learned to listen to these things because they happen more often than not. And it's like, I just stop what I'm doing, and it's like, and I'll be in like I tell you, I'm making a call on the way home today. I had the same feeling to call Brady. I don't know why. I just said, I feel like I got to call Brett. And I don't know Brett that well. We've had a couple of small chats, but I know that when I sit and I think about it, like, I'll go, why? And I feel it's like, I have this feeling Cooper wants me to do that. I told you that day because that's how it felt. That's kind of what it felt this morning. I was standing out in the parking lot here, just collecting my thoughts before he came in about what we were going to talk about. And I go, God, I got this strong feeling to call Brett. So I go, yeah, it says call him on the way home. Okay. And so I don't know. I just feel that Coop's still here doing this stuff. And then people randomly react I'll share this with you, and then we can start wrapping up. I did a podcast for this other group a few months ago near where we live. One guy reached out for me for about a year, and it just didn't feel right. And not that it was wrong, the timing didn't feel right. They're part of a recovery business, rehab and recovery. It just didn't resonate. And what I was told from Cooper was, I've got work for you to do, and you'll know it's me. It'll resonate with you. And you'll also know when it's not the prime and it won't resonate, but you'll know on either one. So I just pray to be open to listening to that. But then I got reached out by this group later, and it did resonate. I said, okay, let me take a look at what you're doing. Yeah, I'll be on your podcast. So I go meet them. They have this insane studio, and it's like, okay. And I go, as I walked in, as I met everybody, as I shook hands, I felt like I am supposed to be here. I don't know why, but I'm supposed to be here, and I'm good. So we go do the podcast, and at the end, the owner of it goes, he's talking about how fentanyl has affected him. He's seen so many people die that have come out of recovery from fentanyl that weren't planning on dying, like Coop. Thought they're taking something that they thought was X. It's laced with something, and now you're dead. His daughter's fiance died from a fentanyl overdose, and he's seen the grief that she's gone through, and they're in their early 20s. And he said, I got to do something. I started this podcast. He goes, I got to get this message out about fentanyl. We got to change it. Whatever we can do, I'm not going to stop until it changes. So I get on there, and they want to talk to me about a dad who's gone through it. Okay, at the very end, he goes, we're going to give a scholarship in Cooper's name. There'll be a bed here in perpetuity in his name. Somebody can't afford it. Somebody needs it. We're offering that for him. And it's like, rehab is at least $30,000 to $50,000 a month. And he goes, if it's 30 days, if it's 60 days, if it's 70 days, 80, 90 days for some person, whatever it is, we're offering that. And I'm like, wow. So then a few weeks later, a neighbor of mine, I call a neighbor of mine who's in recovery and for like 30 years and leads a bunch of AA meetings, and his thing was Coke. And he knew Coop, and he talked to Coop a lot, and he was very close to me about this whole situation. I said, I don't know how to get this word out, because a lot of the platform we have is around the world, and we're here in Southern California. So I go, you're doing these AA meetings, so if you know somebody that needs that, share it, because it's close to here. I don't know if somebody's going to fly from New York or London or something. So he calls me one day and goes, I have this guy, this dad, whose son is really struggling, and they can't afford it. And I go, I think he'd be a candidate. So talk to the dad, tells me about it. I call the group up, and they said, sure, here's the admissions officer. Give us his name, we'll talk to him, and we'll start the process. And so they start the process, and they're going to admit the kid. I mean, it's a kid. I think he's almost 30. He's between your age and 30. Mm-hmm. He's going to go in on a Friday morning and be admitted. Thursday night, we're getting the group text message, my son didn't come home. And so we're chatting back and forth, and my friend Dave is saying, typically a lot of these people go for one last hurrah before they got to go into rehab. And he goes, you got to find him, man, because this usually doesn't end up good. So anyway, he showed up the next morning, and he went in. So we were like, praying for you, and the dad's very grateful. Short version is, the guy went through the rehab process, wants to go back and work there. He's going to meetings. He's closer with his dad. He's leaving his friend group. It's so far it's working.
Wow.
And I'm like, God, and he said, I just want to thank you and Cooper. I could never afford this on a teacher's salary. And it's one day at a time, but today it's a good day. So I think I'm going to meet with them in the next couple of days and finally meet them. I don't know who they are. My buddy didn't know who they are. And then another group reached out that saw that, and we posted it and stuff, and they've offered a scholarship at another rehab center. So I'm looking at this stuff that Coop, remember he wanted to start a treatment center because he went through one that he didn't like and thought it was kind of bullshit. So this stuff just happens.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
You know,
Yeah,
and people
wow.
are getting it like real help, and that's like real money. That's like, guys in there a month, that's $30,000.
That's crazy.
So we just keep opening up and listening, and if I feel we're supposed to do something, it's Coop. And so I know he cares and still is around all of you guys. My hope for you is to continue on what you're doing, and you'll listen to when he taps on your shoulder, and let's listen to what he has for you to do. So, Jordan, any message you want to give our viewers or listeners on anything, and share
Yeah, let me think of
about your experiences with everything that we've all kind of been connected with?
Yeah, I would say if you are struggling, I think it's an amazing thing to be open about. I think it's a good thing to be open about because it's growth. You grow from it. I think that's like the best outcome from struggling. And I think talking about your struggles and going through them, I think the growth process is the best part of the entire thing. And there really is light at the end of the tunnel. I feel like that's one thing a lot of people really don't think there is, but there 1000% is. And there's so much purpose in life. And I know you could probably say the exact same thing with everything you've gone through. There's been times where I know you've wanted to give up. You don't know if you're going to make it, but then a new amazing thing happens, or a new amazing conversation you have happens, or an opportunity, and you're there and you're witnessing it and you're seeing it and you made it through it, and it was well worth the pain and struggle and all that. All of it is. And yeah, I feel like that is, I would say my message is just like, get through it, and just, get through it. You will get through it,
I gotta tell you, I'm really happy for you. You've come a long way since the last time we talked, which is when I called you when you're on your balcony. And man, I'm really proud of you. You should be proud of yourself. Don't be satisfied. You could be pleased, but don't be satisfied.
I still got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, but I mean,
it,
you got a great career. It sounds like you have a great girlfriend. You've chosen to to control your environment, your life, and make good choices. And I think that's a great example for your peers, your generation, to see that it can be done, because you've struggled from a tough standpoint, and you're creating the success for yourself. You're very humble, but you're also very empathetic and very giving. And I know you're appreciative of all those and that have helped you get there. And it's not the Jordan show.
It's not the Jordan show.
Yeah. I think it's very admirable, and I'm very thankful and grateful that I got to know you through Cooper.
I'm very grateful and thankful I got to know you as well. Seriously, I don't know why he was hiding you for so long.
Oh, whatever.
I'm just kidding.
Anyway, thank you for joining us, and I hope to have you back again.
Thanks for having me.
And always stay in touch. You can always reach out to me. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. And for more information, please follow us at the Coop's Advice Foundation.org.